welcome to drmom.com.
All right, hey everyone, Dr. Tony. Thanks for joining us today. I have Jackie O'Malley here as the guest speaker for our March Mindfulness. I'm so excited. Thanks for joining us today, Jackie.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're so glad. So Jackie's going to share with us a little bit about what she does, how long she's been in the field, and all of that good bits about what led her to mindfulness in the first place.
Yes, I'm excited to share.
Thank you so much. All right, Jackie. So let's get it started. Can you share a little bit about what brought you to explore mindfulness, a little bit about what brought you to the field, what you do, how long you've been here?
Yes. So first of all, I am a mother of 3, and I really think that that is my most important job.
Yes.
And the hardest job that I have. Much easier to help people parent from the outside versus doing it on your own.
Yeah.
So that is my first job. And then I am a certified mindfulness educator. I am an owner of a business. So the business that I have is Project Mindful, which goes into schools, and we teach mindfulness to teachers and to students to help them with managing stress, paying attention, and managing their emotions.
Which is awesome. So Jackie and I actually met because my daughter is in elementary school, my oldest. I also have 3.
Oh.
And she got to meet Mrs. O'Malley, and she came home talking about all this mindfulness stuff she was learning at school, and she was so excited, and she thought Mrs. O'Malley was so cool. And Mrs. O'Malley extended an invitation to the parents of the kids that were participating in her program to come in and learn about what she's been teaching the children. So I went, and we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And I was so excited when I reached out and asked her if she could be with me, and she said yes.
Yes.
So I'm so excited for that. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Yes.
And this is great for me too, because I'm getting outside of my comfort zone, and love the opportunity to be able to do this.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes we have to go outside of our comfort zones
Yeah.
to grow, right? That's a good thing to do with mindfulness,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
For sure. So can you tell us what brought you to the field?
Yes, so my own struggles brought me to the field. Not being able to be the parent that I wanted to be. I was struggling with anxiety, feeling like everybody else was a better parent than I was. Feeling like everyone seemed to be flowing through this parenting thing with more ease than I was. I had a heaviness in my chest once my children reached a certain age, and it was a young age, 3, where once they started to talk back and kind of have their own ideas about things, I was not prepared for that. I grew up in a house where it was pretty much you do what I say when I say it. So that was what I knew, but that was not how I wanted to parent.
Yeah.
So I had this internal struggle and found mindfulness through that, through first turning to yoga, and then through my work, because my background is counseling. I've been a counselor for 20 years now, finding it in my work for mindfulness-based play therapy with kids.
That's awesome.
Yes, so then I started to do it with the kids who I was working with, and my work at that time was with juvenile delinquents and their families, and I found that if I could just be present with them and really just listen to what they were saying, that there was such an amazing, almost, I can't think of the word, transformation with just being present and not necessarily going in and trying to solve their problems.
Yeah, like permission to be them.
Yes.
Yeah, just be who they are.
Yeah. And then I brought it to myself, because I was doing it with them, but I wasn't doing it with myself, and allowed me to have the permission to feel anxiety and to not be afraid of it, and to be a mom who was scared and full of worries and full of sadness. And this is the road where I started.
Yeah, I think a lot of our audience is going to be able to relate to that, because I talk a lot to parents and to children and teens, but a lot of parents will feel alone in the struggle and feel like they're the only ones struggling, and what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this right?
Yes.
Why am I not feeling good enough? I'm not a good enough mom. I'm not a good enough partner. And all those shoulds and coulds and all of that those chaotic thoughts and feelings, they feel like a tornado, and you feel so lonely, and you start comparing yourself to other people, and then it just seems to spiral, right? Spiral downward.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
mindfulness is something that was helpful for you when you were experiencing that. Awesome. So I hope that you guys can take that home today, that if this is something you're experiencing, you're not alone, but also you might be able to incorporate some mindfulness in your life in a way that's practical that could help you if you are experiencing any of these struggles.
Yes. The other thing that just came to mind was I have a favorite quote, and it is from Theodore Roosevelt. And it's, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes. That's
I love that. So I keep repeating that to myself all the time, because what I realized that anxiety and the angst that I was feeling was always because I was comparing myself and not feeling good enough.
Yes. And we'll plug in real fast. It's not the focus of our talk today, but social media feeds into that, right?
Yes.
And that's why our teens and children struggle even more, because they're chronically comparing. And when you're always comparing to this glimpse of perfection, no one can live up to that.
No. There is no perfect human.
It's just not possible.
No.
So to kick us off, I like to ask, who or what inspires you or your life?
I would say who inspires me are the people around me who struggle and realize they're in the struggle and do what they can to get themselves out.
A lot of courage.
Yes. The people around me who are not perfect. The everyday people. I love watching 60 Minutes. Just to see those everyday people who are doing things to make a difference in the world. And I find that so inspirational. The little things that we can do to just help one another to create more kindness and compassion in the world. You know, if I had to pick someone, one of my people who inspire me is Michelle Obama.
Nice.
Right. And being, modeling her values, her sense of humor, the way that she doesn't take herself too seriously. Like, those are all amazing traits. How hard she worked to get where she is from she's south side of Chicago, right? And to get to First Lady.
So embracing your humanness, accepting it, and using it to propel yourself forward. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the teachers, too, are an inspiration to me every day, especially the teachers who I go into their classrooms and they are willing to do something different. They're willing to try this, and when they do commit to this mindfulness practice, it not only opens up the children to more learning, but the teachers are learning at the same time, and that's a hard thing for teachers.
It is. I agree.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of teachers, and I have to say the teachers that brought Mrs. O'Malley into to my daughter's class are phenomenal and all about embracing the whole being, the whole child, and I am so grateful for you. So grateful for you. If you don't know, if you're watching this, please know that we are so grateful for teachers like you who embrace our whole children for all of who they are, not just a student or academic, machine.
Right.
Thank you for that. I think that's great. I totally agree. Okay, awesome. So I have also found mindfulness to be incredibly helpful in my professional and personal life. So we're going to ask Jackie to share with us some things that she's found helpful about mindfulness from her experience. First of all, can you kind of explain to us, if you were to describe what mindfulness is, how would you describe that?
So mindfulness is this way of living where we begin to notice all the distractions that are in our lives. You talked about social media earlier, right? Social media, our phones, the screen, TV, all of these things are things that distract us from what's going on right here, right now. And they also create stress. So mindfulness is this way of becoming aware of our stressors and the things in our lives that may be pulling us away from being present and in the now, And what we realize is that when we're in the now, we tend to be more happy and peaceful. The problem is that we are not in the now very often.
Mm-hmm.
We are thinking about what might happen, and we're in future thinking, our to-dos. We're thinking about what ifs a lot of the time. Or we are stuck in the past and thinking about things that already happened that we want it to change. Yeah. And mindfulness is this way of beginning to notice that and to bring our attention right here, right now, so that we can make a choice whether we want to be distracted or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
How have you seen this practice of mindfulness change people's lives? Kids, adults. How have you seen that impact the lives of people when they notice the distraction and bring themselves back to the here and now?
Yeah. So I have seen a profound difference in people, a profound growth in people who really practice. The other thing about mindfulness is that it is a practice. Mm-hmm. It's just like anything else. I tell the kids, it's like if you want to be good at basketball, you have to get out on the court and practice. Right. Same thing with this is that if you don't practice, you don't have the opportunity to change your brain. Mm-hmm. So this practice is of utmost importance. And the practice is quite simple, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. But what I find is that it can make a profound difference in anyone as long as they want to do the work to do it. It is very simple, but it's not easy in our everyday lives of wanting to be busy and feeling like we're on this hamster wheel of needing to do and get this done. And when I get this done, then I'll sit and relax. Or when I get this done, then I'll be happy. When I lose this weight, then I'll be happy. And then what we're doing is just putting our happiness on the back burner, and we're just in this hamster wheel. And I've had plenty of students who just from learning the 16 tools that I teach in school, that I get letters from them telling me how much it has affected their lives. I have 72-year-old clients who were having panic attacks most of their lives and have come and really do the practice, and now they no longer have panic attacks and are living the life that they wanted to live.
So age has nothing to do with it?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's the work that you want to put in.
Yeah. I think that's a great message, too, for everyone to take home. It's not a matter of, oh, well, my 5-year-old can't do it, they're only 5, or, oh, well, I'm 70, I'm set in my ways. Any age can benefit from it, but there's lots of ways to practice it, and so it's a matter of finding the ways that work for you.
Yes.
Because every way is not going to work for everyone. I'm wondering, sometimes I've gotten questions from people of various ages of, I can't do it, doesn't work for me, my mind gets too distracted.
Yes.
What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that's how my mind was. My mind, diagnosed with ADHD at age 40 when my daughter was diagnosed. And I, up until that point, really valued my busy mind, thinking that it helped me to get things done and it, helped me to be successful. And I think in society, we have been raised to value thinking way too much.
And busy.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm so busy.
Oh,
and I'm proud of it. I've been there. I'm guilty as
well. And that's one of those things that I ask in the parent meeting. When you run into someone on the streets and you ask them, how are you? They will say, busy. Whereas 20 years ago, people would the most often say, fine. Now we value this busyness. And instead of realizing that we need to find that answer to things within ourselves, it's not necessarily something that we learned in school. We need to develop that wisdom that comes from a much deeper sense of belonging and freedom and compassion, not just what we've learned in our heads.
Yes, so it is a deeper connection. It's not surfacey for sure.
No.
And so if you get distracted, in your thoughts. When you practice mindfulness, know that that's normal.
Yes.
Very normal. It's your humanness. We don't want to take your humanness away. It's just a matter of not getting wrapped up in it and feeling like you're in that tornado.
Yes, and there's also, so we must expect that we're going to be distracted. That's the expectation when we begin, is that we're going to be distracted. Our mind is going to feel like it's going 10,000 miles a minute, and then what we want to do is approach it with kindness. So that's the difference too with mindfulness, is that we approach this practice with kindness and without judgment. So that we're not saying, I'll never be able to do this. This is ridiculous. I can't do it. My mind is way too busy. But we just say, okay, yeah, there, my mind is thinking. And we just make that comment. We don't have to judge it. We just say, yeah, oh, wow, my mind's busy right now. Okay, I'm just going to sit and notice the busyness. And then we give ourselves something to focus on. And that thing to focus on is our breath. Or could be a sound. We're going to do sound is one of the practices we'll do when we continue.
Yes, awesome. So what would you say would be the most important thing for a beginner to understand then about mindfulness?
It's not something that you accomplish.
I love that.
Yes.
That's a great response. I love it.
It is something, it is a journey. It is not, you are not going to get it right. There is no right. I still have been practicing for 10 years and find myself busy and distracted plenty of the time.
Well, and how powerful in a world where we want this immediate gratification, or in a world where we want to feel like we're getting somewhere, we're being productive, efficient, like getting something done, to say, you don't have to accomplish this.
But it's so much more peaceful if you do. It is, I have gotten myself off of that rat race and really a lot of the time ask myself, sometimes I worry, am I getting too laid back? But it really, I feel so much more peaceful, and I really have discovered that there are so many things in our lives that take us out of the moment and out of being kind a lot of times to ourselves, to our family members, because we can be kind to people outside of our families pretty easily, but then we get into our families and we have that short trigger. And I find myself that I just a lot of the time say, whatever.
Yeah. And I have found with a lot of the people I work with, they forget to show kindness, compassion, that non-judgmental stance to themselves.
Yes.
And that is really painful. And that causes that internal suffering.
Yeah, I spent a year and a half practicing compassion for myself and continue to practice, but a straight year because I had that tendency to call myself names, to call myself an idiot when I would forget things, or, you know, I had the inner dialogue of that I was stupid until I went to graduate school and ended up on the dean's list. But prior to that, school was a struggle because it wasn't necessarily what I was interested in.
Yeah.
So I really have compassion and an understanding for kids too who struggle in school and call themselves stupid and all the names that you hear, because I know that personally.
Yeah, and it's painful.
Yeah.
Very painful. So we're going to dig into 2 practical ways that maybe someone who's just beginning, or maybe just kind of considering getting into this mindfulness practice, that they could use. And we're going to demonstrate for you, and you can join with us. We can do it together if you want. And that way you can see that we're not talking about this super formal, meditative for hours type of thing. Mindfulness can be incorporated in your life in ways that are very practical and not necessarily an easy thing, because this is a new habit for you, but a very possible thing. And the more you practice that habit, the less difficult it becomes.
Yes, and science has showed, research has showed that if you practice 10 minutes a day, in 2 weeks the brain changes. That's a minimal time.
Yes, and brain change, don't be scared of it. This is something.
No, it's good.
This is a healthy thing, right? Our brain wants to take in, our brain wants to learn, develop, grow, heal if there's some blockages and things like that. So.
Yeah, And you have the prefrontal cortex, which is right behind your hand if it's on your forehead. And that is the part of the brain that gets activated when you practice mindfulness. That is the part of the brain that helps us to organize, to plan, to manage time, to be kind even when other people are not kind, to manage emotion. I think too that was the one thing I had worked with my previous life with the juvenile delinquents and their families, and I could go into trailer parks and I could go into $3 million homes, and the one common thread was a lack of communication and not able to manage emotion. And these are the two things that mindfulness is really beneficial for.
Yes, definitely doesn't discriminate. Can help anyone.
No, yeah.
For sure. Awesome. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start with our first one.
My bowl, and we're going to, our first tool is going to be mindful listening. And I do have a special bell, but you do not need a special bell to do it. So we are going to practice just listening to this bell, and then we're going to practice listening to the sounds that we hear in the room. Okay? So the thing is that you're going to get distracted. You're going to notice distraction, hopefully, because every moment of distraction then has the opportunity to be a moment of mindfulness if we realize it.
Yes.
So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to ring the bell. I want you to put all your attention on the bell. If you notice yourself getting distracted, just notice it and then bring your attention back to the bell, and then we're going to listen to sounds in the room. Sounds that the room you're in, will listen to sounds here. Okay.
Does it matter if we open or close our eyes?
It doesn't. I like to have my eyes closed because my eyes are a distraction. So if you are comfortable closing your eyes, I always recommend closing your eyes. But if you're not, you can keep them open and focus on one thing.
Awesome.
Okay. So here we go. So if you'd like to close your eyes, I invite you to do that now. Let your eyes close, and we're just going to listen to the bell. And remember, I want you to notice your distraction with kindness and without judging it. Just allowing yourself to bring your attention back each time you get distracted. So now I want you to put all your attention and awareness into the sounds that you hear in the room. You may hear sounds outside of the room too. That is fine. Just focusing. Perhaps you hear cars or you hear birds. You may hear a clock. The thing that I want you to notice is that you may start thinking about those things. What kind of car is going fast? Or I wonder what time it is. That is distraction. All I want you to do is focus on the sound as a sound, a vibration in your ear, without the story. And every time you start noticing story or distraction, just bring yourself back to the sound. If we are listening to the sound, we're in the moment. we start to think, we've become distracted. But again, approaching it with a kindness, knowing that perhaps this is the first time you've allowed yourself to notice distraction. And now we bring ourselves back. Now, the second part of this practice is the breathing. Our breath keeps us in the moment. So I want you to focus your attention on your breath. Breathing in through your nose for 3. And breathing out of your nose or your mouth for 4 or 5. And again, the same thing. Noticing distraction, just labeling as thinking, and then bringing your attention back to your breath. Breathing in for 3, and breathing out for 4 or 5. Breathing in for 3, breathing out for 4 or 5. And then taking another deep breath before we listen to the bell again. And just thanking yourself for taking this time to watch this podcast, to listen to your breath. This practice of stillness of the mind is a practice and a love for yourself and for everyone else you come in contact with. Allow yourself to listen to the bell from beginning to end, and to open your eyes when you're ready and you no longer hear it.
So was that about maybe 7 or 8 minutes?
Not sure.
So I'm wondering if anyone tried it with us, or maybe you rewound it and tried it with us later.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice that in these past 7-ish minutes, how your body sensations may have changed. And just to notice that, no judgment, but just to notice what, if any, differences there may have been for you when you practice this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're at home, in the car but not driving, at work, wherever you may be.
And just to know the science behind our breath. When we breathe, long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, that's important, and then out of the mouth or the nose, we send dopamine and serotonin throughout our body on that exhale. That's why we make it longer than the inhale. And those are the 2 chemicals to help us calm ourselves down, to be focused, to be in the moment. So it really is science.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that part.
Yes, and mindfulness is a bit of a buzzword right now, but really mindfulness has been around for so long, and I'm glad that we're embracing it. But because it's a buzzword, I think sometimes the description or understanding of it gets a little bit convoluted.
Yeah.
So I hope that just these past, the past half hour that you've been with us, that hopefully this takes some of the angst or confusion out of mindfulness. And with your kids, you could do fun mindfulness using bubbles.
Yes.
And notice the bubble blowing and notice it floating in the air. So it doesn't have to be with any special bell, although if you want to use a bell, there's an app for
Yes,
that.
there is. There's an app, of course. Many apps with bells.
So you could do that, and there's even on YouTube, you can look up a meditation bell or mindfulness bell.
Yeah.
And they have videos with the sounds on YouTube. So you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to buy anything.
No, it can even
Practice
be listening to
mindfulness.
the ocean, the sounds of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It can be listening to the cars, just like we started. The first practice of mindful listening is just listening. Go outside and listen.
Yes, be with nature.
Be present.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, love it. Thank you so much, Jackie.
You're so welcome.
We're so glad you joined us today.
Thank you. We did.
Can you tell us your website, so where people can find you? And then also, I know you have an upcoming YouTube channel
Yes,
as well.
I am working on my YouTube channel, which will be Project Mindful. And I can be seen on the web at www.projectmindful.org. So come and see me. Also on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is got_stress.
Nice. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys joined us today too. I hope you got something out of it. And if you ever have questions or comments, you can leave those below.
Yes,
Till
thank
next
you.
time.
Thanks for tuning in. Until next time. Bye.
DrMom.com does not constitute a client-patient relationship and claims no clinical responsibility for any information presented on this channel. Please seek out a therapist in your area if you would like to pursue individual clinical support.